It's the Dunham Report with your host, Chester Dunham, and co-host, Wesley Crenshaw. Funding for this program was provided in part by the A. Philip Randolph Institute, ILA Local 1414, Geo Vista Credit Union.
I am Chester Dunham, and this is the Dunham Report, marketplace of ideas for labor, civil rights, and other issues of social justice. I am Dunham, and I'm the host of the show. My co-host is none other than Mr. Wesley Crenshaw. And today, for you, the viewing audience, we have a good show for you. So pay strict attention. We have some individuals on with us that's running for office. And the first person that we have with us is she's a former educator, but she'll tell you more about herself in a few minutes. And that's none other than Miss Betty Morgan. And Betty, we are delighted to have you on with us, the Dunham Report, this afternoon.
It's my pleasure.
It's your pleasure. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. And then the second half of the show, I'm going to let you all know, well, you wouldn't be surprised. We will have a young lady on who's running for Congress. And she is running for the 1st District. And the 1st District is so important, and I'm so familiar with the 1st District and certain people who had served us in that position for a long period of time. I go way back to where I wasn't involved in the political arena so much at that time, but I can go back to Congressman Bourguin, which was a dynamic individual. But we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Betty, how about in your own way, tell the viewing audience a little bit about yourself, then we're going to get into discussion about what's going on.
Well, I'm Betty Morgan, and I am running for school board president. I have been in the school system for over 30 some odd years, close to 40 to be honest, and I've enjoyed every minute of the time that I have been in the school system. I taught 8th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, ELA, which is English Language Arts. I've done a little elementary, but I think I like middle school more so than elementary. I have been in the school system doing that for some years, and I enjoyed it. I'm also a retired veteran of the 165th Airlift Wing, started out there. And I did that because I was mentoring a young lady, and this young lady could not find a job, and if she did find one, she couldn't keep it. But one day across the television screen came an ad stating that if you would like to see the world, join the Air National Guard. Therefore, I decided, because I was taking her to the Guard, I decided to join. Well, I started as a slick sleeve, meaning I had no stripes at all, but that's okay. I worked my way from being a slick sleeve all the way to the Command Chief Master Sergeant of the Georgia Air National Guard, became the State Chief Command Sergeant. So, therefore, leadership is not a problem for me. I have been in a leadership role at school, I have been in a leadership role in the military, and now I am the director of a program called Starbase Savannah. It is housed at Hunter Army Airfield. This program is for 5th graders, and they are taught everything from chemistry, physics, to warm-up and cool-downs, to rocketry. They make all types of rockets. They even get to launch them. They also do dragsters with CO2 cartridges. These young people are doing 10th grade work when they are in 5th grade. Therefore, they know exactly what's going on once they leave the Starbase Academy. They can move on to the STEM Academy, because you know STEM is the thing that's going to be going on these days. These children love it. So, school board president, yes. I do love being honored to have the opportunity to become the next school board president, because leadership is not a problem for me. I'm there for the children, I'm there for the teachers, I'm there for the community, I'm there for us to have a productive citizens throughout Chatham County. I'm there to service everyone that's involved. I'm there to help support the superintendent of schools. The board needs some new direction and they need a change, and therefore I think I am that change. So I'm Betty Morgan, running for school board president.
All right, let's, I'm gonna ask maybe one or two questions before Mr. Crenshaw will be chiming in, and I know he'll do that in a few minutes.
Yes.
But what I would like to, let's look at the situation, Chatham County Board of Education. And it's one of the most important elected positions in the whole state. No matter what, it's still, education is still important.
Yes, it is.
This time around, and I've been following this political arena for quite a while, and especially individuals who are involved in education, and especially those past board members, past president, past superintendent. I'm familiar with all of them, had personal relationship with all of them. This time around, just recently, for the school board president of Chatham County, I don't know what it was, but it's decided that it was a popular position or whatever, because this time around, we had 5, if I'm correct, individuals who were running and seeking that position. And we knew that if it was a runoff, which it is, it ain't but one individual going to be able to hold that position. In your own way, and then we get into other things, you just said a whole lot about yourself. I mean a whole lot of things. I didn't realize you was in the military and all of these other things, but that position, why, or what you think that you can do to add on or help improve or continue education in as a part of the system in Chatham County?
Loaded question, but because of the 5 that were running, I'm the only one who have ever taught in the Chatham County school system. And because I taught in the system, I kind of know what goes on in the system. I'm all about the children of the system. I'm all about making sure that we have productive citizens being taught each day to make sure that they will be able to successfully take care of themselves later on in life. I was there when I first started teaching at one of the schools. The children were taking care of themselves. It's like they really didn't have anybody in their corner. And when you get educators who are interested in children instead of just making a living for themselves, you find that the children will be productive citizens later on. They wanted to learn, I wanted them to learn, so therefore I made sure I taught them. Just because of getting the position of school board president, it just doesn't mean that I'm there trying to collect a salary. It's not there because of prestige. It's not there because it's the best position there is at the board. I'm there because I want to make a difference in the children's lives, into the teachers' lives, into the schools. I want every child to get the same education as the child from this side of town, from a child from this side of town. I want us to come together as one. We are one team, one voice, one fight. Our fight is to maintain accountability in the schools for all teachers, all administrators, all parents, all students. I'm there because I want to make a difference in the lives of these children always. I don't want to just sit behind a desk. I want to be one that go into the system, into the schools, and ask teachers, administrators, and students, what is it that we can help you do to make your school better? What is it that we need to do that you don't have but you need? How can we find a way to help you get that if that's going to make your school better? We want to become the #1 board, Savannah-Chatham County board. We want to make it one of the top boards there can ever be. So if I can make that difference, I shall.
Mr. Morgan.
Yes, sir.
If I recall, there are some low-performing schools in the system.
Yes.
What do you have in mind for those schools?
And just like I was just saying, now's the time to go into those schools and start with the administrative staff. What is it that we need to do that we can help? Is it funding? Do you need more parental help? Do you need more books? What is it that you need? Just tell us what you need. Give us a list of prioritize your things and let us start there. And then we work that list one step at a time to make it better.
We as I'll continue on what Crenshaw just mentioned. Last couple of 3 years, he started it just didn't start last year, before last, it started even before then. And that's Governor Deal Constitution Amendment, which that he was trying to get into the whole school system in the state of Georgia. It was at least 3 or 4 other states throughout the United States that was dealing with amendment in their school system. I know Tennessee was one, Michigan was one, I think, Alabama, but there's several of them. But what we did, or what the governor did here, was different from the other state, because they was dealing with an amendment, and if it didn't work, you change and go to something else, and that didn't work, you change something else. But when you start dealing with the Constitution, then you got a problem. And that's why what we did throughout the whole state of Georgia was working with a lot of people around the state to defeat this thing, because we knew that it would have been bad for public education when you get to where one or either a handful of people are in control of the whole system. And that's why this thing was so devastating. That's why it was a dangerous move. And it seemed like the governor didn't want to listen to other people's ideas and all of these other different things. And that's why we had to go all around to try to educate the people who were voting, to make sure that they understood what was going on. Because Ann was talking about the low performing school and all of these sort of things. And we all, most people, everybody, want better education, or top education, no matter where you live or what party you are, what gender, whatever. Want the best. And if you really listen to the governor and who put all of this package or whatever, this information on paper, it will fool you in a heartbeat if you wasn't really paying strict attention to what was going on. So now what we have done, we defeated this Constitution Amendment, but it's not through. The governor will be moving on, but those other ones that would be there will be talking about some of these things. And the key thing is this. We call it, I don't have it in the front of me because I wasn't going to talk about it, but we call it a backdoor legislation, because what he did, although he was defeated on the Constitution Amendment, he introduced a bill which to similar do some of the same identical thing that this amendment would have done. So that's what he did. And the House members, a lot of them, still voted along with him. We have a lot of people who represent us from Chatham County. And people need to know this. That's why we would expose some of them who went along with the governor in this particular bill. And still yet they came back and he got their support. So what's happening now is with their support, which he got, but the Senate side did change some things and made it a little more complicated, a little better. You want to expound or say a little something about that before we move on to the next?
Well, all I can say is it takes a village to raise a child, and I'm almost thinking that when you do policies and procedures, things are in place and people need to respect those policies and procedures. Sometimes we take it upon ourselves to want to change things when we really don't know what's really going on and happening in those places. So those schools that are, as we were talking a minute ago about, on the list of failing schools, is it because the schools are failing, or is it because there are not enough people there to recognize what those people need for those children to move forward? So the policy and procedures need to stay in place, and unless these people actually know exactly what's going on, it's kind of hard to make decisions when you don't know what's really going on.
Tell me what's your position on charter schools?
Charter schools? They popping up every 5 minutes, it look like, and you know, anybody who can go out and write a grant and come up and say, yes, I want a school named, especially after me or after somebody else that's been around for many years. We have enough schools in Chatham County that we really don't need to, you know, have another charter school there. If we just do what we need to do with the schools that we have, we wouldn't have to necessarily get to a charter school. I don't know if it has to do with money, or if it has to do with that maybe a parent maybe don't want a child to go to a particular school, so therefore I'll create a new one. We just have enough schools, and if we do what we need to do for those schools, then we wouldn't necessarily need a charter school.
Now, most time people say the reason the child is not learning is because of parental involvement. Do you have any plans to make sure that we can increase the amount of parental involvement in the school system?
Parents need to know what's going on, and as we say, day one when school opens, like for instance, school is about to be open again in August. Once a child, and I think we were just talking about that as we were sitting out waiting, you have parents that will start with children in elementary school, and then when they get to middle school, they drop the ball. They say, okay, you old enough now, you don't need to go to school. I don't need to go to school with you, I'll worry about you. And when they get in high school, they definitely say, oh no, I don't need to, because you can do it yourself. To be honest, parents need to start with their children from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade, because they're still children. They're not adults yet, so they still need some guidance. So the more we can get parents into the schools and stay with us and come and visit with us and talk with us and just get involved with their children's educational life, and therefore I think it will be better. So the more parental involvement, they want. Open up the schools on weekends, open up the schools during the day, just allow parents to come in, sit down and talk and go to class with their kids. I know we going through Volunteer Beacon and all of that, but the parents need to be there with their children. I mean, and don't just give up on them. Stay with them. Stay with them from the first day they go to school until the day they get that diploma. Stay with them. So I think more parents should get involved in kids.
Now you realize that a lot of low-income parents don't have a lot of time once they work 2 or 3 jobs to do that.
Yes, they
So do we have some sort of idea of how we can aid those parents? The average parent like myself have plenty of time to do it, but a poor parent who's working 2 or 3 jobs would appreciate any kind of assistance they can get.
Exactly. So
I guess my question is, was or should have been, what is it the school system plans to do to help that parent who doesn't have the time? Nevertheless, they're still interested in that student.
they don't have to come every day.
Okay.
They don't have to come every hour. They don't have to come every month. Just the time, any free time that they have. If it's 2 hours, come check on your child. You know, come see what you need to do to help your child. You know, be a productive little student. So just whenever. Nobody says it has to be etched in stone that you got to come Monday from 9 to 12 or Tuesday from 12 to 1. No, whenever you're free, just come on. The doors of the schools like church are open. You're welcome to come in at any given time.
What you think of
Really? Okay.
what you think, and if I have him on, of course I've actually, we have talked privately, but if I have him on, I'll ask this question, and that is former President Joe Buck. He served as school board president for 2 terms, which is 8 years.
Yes.
During that tenure, because I was involved with the decision so far as one of our representatives from this area was trying to get that cut to just 1 term, which was 4 years, and that was during the time when President Buck was in, and I went to Atlanta and raised hand with the people who were making the rules that it shouldn't be. We should continue with the 2 term and everything just like it was before. So with all of those things that we was talking about back and forth, eventually the time around before they was able to have a vote on it the next time around, because we had time to change. So they continue to to let it be the two-term and four-year situation. We had Hugh Golson, which I thought was a dynamic educator and school board president, and the voters decide to change, and that's their privilege. They should do whatever they want to do. So what you think about Buck decide to figure that the 8 years maybe just not good enough, that he can offer something else? What do you think about that decision? And I'm not trying to put you on
Yes,
the
yes, you are. Yes, you are. Don't play. All I'm gonna say is, right now he is a great adversary for the school board because he's been in position. But all I'm gonna say is I'm gonna buck the system because I'm Betty Morgan and I'm gonna run for school board president and I'm in it to win it. So he just as well step aside.
Sounds good.
Well, the thing that I'm always said, I have been school board, or not school board, but PTA president for 5 years at Pulaski.
Oh, Pulaski.
And I had the opportunity to work with some superintendents who were just not kind of for teachers. Of course, I let them know I didn't care. I wasn't hired by the school system. But what I wanted to make sure of is one thing I was concerned about, and I stay concerned about, was the poor parents. And what is it that we can, when I said simulate parental guidance and things, I mean those parents, whatever they need. Sometimes they leave home worried about whether the rent's going to be paid, whether they're going to have food on the shelter. So when we talk about school, I wish that we would get to a point where it would be a total wraparound type situation where it helps the parent and the child. And there's a couple of us who started a charter school, but we decided it was not feasible because in the third year of a charter school, they expect you to show that you can raise a certain amount of money. And so when we tried to get the money, we decided not to do it. But up until that point, we have all the other stuff that we did. One of the things that we were concerned about, and I was glad to hear about what you were doing at Hunter, is the kinds of subject matter the kids were teaching them. We thought that what they really needed in the school system here, the kids need to be taught Latin because it helps them in all the arts and everything. Latin gives them all the basics of the terms and whatnot. So my piece is, please put in some Latin in elementary school.
They used to do Latin and they did Spanish at one time because they said the United States was becoming more with the Spanish descent, so they stopped doing Spanish. And they have done, I remember Frank W. Spencer, now Andre B. Williams Elementary School, used to be the school of languages. So they did Latin, Spanish, and they did another. And of course, that was taken away. And that's a good point that you brought up. And if we would we have all these schools, if we would put a specialty program in each school, yes, that would help our young people when they go to school. And then that would give them the choice of where they would like to go. Just because you live next door to a school doesn't necessarily mean you might not be interested in STEM. You might be interested in chorus, you might be interested in band, you might be interested in culinary, you might be interested in whatever. So if we put some specialties in these schools, these young people will have a chance. And I want to tell you something about my program at Hunter. When I mentioned Starbase Savannah, most people ask me, well, which child can come? Most times I think it's the gifted child that can come. No, my program is for every child in Chatham County that's a 5th grader. And it doesn't matter if it's a special needs child, as long as that child can, control him or herself with, sitting up and doing things for him or herself, and their teachers come along with them. It's amazing when you see what those children can do, and don't play them short. Those kids can do a whole lot. We have some intelligent young people here in Chatham County, and we just need to give them a chance. That's all, just one.
Before we let you go, we are still not out of the red yet.
No.
And I'm talking about, when I said that, I'm talking about our school board, the school system. Because it's a lawsuit that I don't want to talk about it too much, but it's still some of the people who were on the board, they are not there, but the other ones will be filling in, but still yet, we are still under the investigation and this sort of thing. So what you think, if you win, you're going to meet that when you get there. What you think about that situation, and what you think about since we change over and have a new superintendent, which The other one was all right with me. I had a good relationship with him, and not just because a relationship, but he was a good guy, and I had a lot of, we got along well, and it wasn't just, he wasn't a pushover, but he did a lot of things that needed to be done, and if you went to him with a particular problem that need correcting or need looking into, all these other kind of things, he tried. I think he tried real hard to correct a lot of things. And it seems like our new superintendent is going to be doing some things too. I don't see some, from the system, some improvement already if all the things are accurate and correct of what they're saying. And that's me.
I know both of them. When Dr. Luckman was there, he was one that helped me to get the children transported from their schools to Starbase, so they don't have to worry about, because that doesn't cost them a nickel from the schools. You know, sometimes when they go on a field trip, they have to pay to go on a field trip, or they have to pay to ride the bus. No. Dr. Luckman said, I want those children to go, so therefore they don't have to worry about how to get there and how to get back. The only two things that required at our Starbase, one, they bring a jacket, and two, they bring a school lunch. That's it. We have everything else. As far as Dr. Levette goes, I worked with her when she and I worked at one of the same school that I retired from. And I know her. She's a people person, and she loves her children. She wants her children to be successful. And if we only give her half a chance, let them see what she can do and what she is doing and what she will do later on to help these children be successful. Just give her a chance. That's the same thing as what I said with Obama. They've given him half a chance. He's one of the best presidents and one of the smartest presidents we've ever had. But because you don't look at the person, look at what the person does. And that person, Dr. Levette, is one that wants the system to be successful. And she's going to make it the best she can make it. Because if she can work at Yale, she sure can work in Chatham County. So my thing is, I'm going to work with her, and whatever she wants and whatever she wants to do for Chatham County school system for the children, I'm with her. I'm all about, like I said, I'm all about the children. So we want to make it work. We don't want to work at it. We want to make it work.
Well, you know, we had Dr. Levette and Miss Harris, Miss one from Hall. We had a Hall. And I let them know, and I let everybody in the school board know that my major concern is low performing schools.
There you go.
And I don't see any reason why we should not be able to maintain those, to reach those goals. As I say, there appears not to be anyone in your way now. So as I said to Dr. Levette, you know, 4 years from now, I hope I don't have to be negative towards you guys because you didn't make it. But I'm definitely going to be watching. That's all I'm concerned about. And I'm always concerned about the low performing schools because that's when usually we have poor kids.
Yes.
And I'll make sure we have somebody standing up for our poor kids. So you guys make it work, and you got a champion here.
Yes, sir. And that's what we intend to do, make it work. Because, you know, like I said, we have some very intelligent young people. And they are all over Chatham County. They're just not in one place. No, all we got to do is give them a chance as well. So those schools that are on that list will be my first priority. What is it that we can do to help you move forward? And that's my goal, move forward. If I can serve my country, I can surely serve my county.
Okay, we fixing to sign off, so
Yes,
I need you to look right in that camera there and speak to the voters of Chatham County and let them know whatever you want to tell them and what you plan to do if they vote for you, if you're successful.
On July 24th, that is the date to vote for the school board president. I'm Betty Morgan, and I am running for school board president. You can vote now. It is early voting time. I need all of my young people that I've taught, all of the people that have been in the educational arena with me, everyone that knows me and knows what I stand for. My military, I tell you all the time, I deal with my military core values, which is integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all that I do. And if I didn't want to do this job, I never would have applied for it. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody that knows me, know that I will do what I need to do to make this a better system. Education first, children, always. Thank you.
Viewing audience, we will be back in a few minutes and with our second guest. Okay, viewing audience, we are back with our second guest. And so now we have with us a young lady who is running for Congress. And I first stated that she is running for District 1. And we're going to be talking a great deal about District 1. And I definitely want you to look in the camera and let the viewing audience know who you are. A lot of them know you and everything else, but let them know who you are. Just for opening session, then we're going to get into this, the district and what you plan to do when you get to DC.
Right.
And tell them who you are.
Okay.
I started to, but I'll just let you tell them who you are.
Sure.
And then we'll go on from there and tell them a few things.
All right. I'm Lisa Ring, and I'm running for Congress here in the 1st District, which is the entire coast of Georgia. I'm running for office because I believe it's time for people to have a voice, and to have a voice in Washington, D.C. I'm a mother of 4. I'm a military spouse and a military mom of a deployed soldier. I'm a former corrections officer, and I was the executive director of an anti-recidivism program that was very successful. Politically, I am the chair of the Bryan County Democratic Committee and the vice chair of the Rural Caucus here in Georgia. I was also a delegate to the Democratic National Convention, where I really found the need to run for office was when I decided that we needed leadership here in the 1st District, political leadership, and we needed people to run for office in these seats where there were no challengers. So I worked to organize the district, and in doing so, saw a need for a congressional candidate, and not just any congressional candidate, one that would empower people to be involved, one that had a message that was inspiring and a bold platform that actually represented all of the people in the district. So I decided to step up and run for office. It's not something that I ever wanted to do, but I feel a need to do it. I feel a need for us to have representatives that actually represent us and care about what our needs are, who are willing to stand up and fight, and to not do what is best for their pockets and for their friends, but rather what is best for the people of the district.
Glad to hear you say that. You said a lot. And viewing audience, I hope you paid strict attention to what she is saying. When we, this political arena, I know a lot about it. And I know a lot about the 1st District. That's when I really got involved with politics real young in the 1st District, and I guess how I got involved was down to a little place down there where I was born in that county, and that's in McIntosh County, in a little place there in Harris Neck where the government had took some land away from us, and even until today we're still fighting the government to try to get the land back into the hand of its rightful owners. And that's the heirs of the people who had owned the property originally. And so therefore Bo Ginn was one of the main congressmen that really worked hard in trying to introduce a bill and working with us to try to get that land back. I had the opportunity to go and spend maybe a week or 2 every day in Bo Ginn's office. We'd get up and we'd go over there on the hill, and we'd be in there all day and doing things. And I remember one day that he was speaking to a group of people in Savannah, an organization, I forgot who they were at that time. And he couldn't come to Savannah, but they did a hookup and he did the speech there in his office. And he recognized me and told the people that I was up there, and I even said a few words to the viewing people who was at that particular time. But he just was a nice, good man. I remember many times when I would call him and ask him to come somewhere, be somewhere, and didn't have to worry about it, because if he said he'd be there, he would be there. And he was there with bells on. I followed through with Lindsey Thomas after Bo left. Lindsey was okay. He was not my pick over again, but he still was okay. And then the district started slipping away. I might as well said it. Mr. Congressman Kingston, a personal friend of mine, I like him as an individual. I really like him. And I guess he feels the same about me. But his policy and all of this sort of thing, and that's where we differ. I tell him many times that I can look at his voting record, and if your voting record changed and it was just the other way, I would support you in a minute. But cannot while it's like this. And I'm not here to talk about Kingston or nobody else. I'm here to talk about you, and you talking about the voters and telling them about yourself. And let's get the show on the road. I'll let Mr. Crenshaw come in, and then we're going to come back to you.
Sure.
And because the show's going to be yours mostly the rest until we get through.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Cran?
Could you spell your last name so that the audience would know who you are? Because lots of times we go through interviews and we don't put their names in more than once or twice. So could you just spell your name and say how people can get in touch with you before we go any further?
Sure, it's Ring, R-I-N-G, just like what you are on your finger. And LisaRingForCongress.com is my website. We also have an office right on Route 17 across from Walmart, next to Dunkin' Donuts, and it's open every day. So
Do we get free donuts if we visit?
No, we don't get free donuts. But you can get yard signs, you can make phone calls, you can just come in and hang out. So those are two ways to get in touch with us, and we also have a Facebook page that people can join.
If you win, we hope you do win, you're going to be going to Congress in Washington. How do you feel about what's happening as far as accountability is regarding Congress right now?
There is no accountability. It's really, it's frightening that America is a great experiment of democracy, and we have never really gotten quite to that point of having a full representative democracy. But it seems we've taken a couple steps backwards away from democracy. And really, I believe that we have to create one. We will not do that with the current administration and the people who are currently in office. There is no accountability, especially if you look at the 1st District and you look at the decisions that are made by our current representative. He is not representing his constituency. As a matter of fact, he's telling his constituency, I don't care what you want. I'm going to do what I think is best. He even, when talking about repealing the Affordable Care Act, he was angry that the Senate would not just jump on board and repeal it. And he had no sympathy for the people who were begging him not to do that. There hasn't been any accountability, and also on a local level, we haven't had any challengers to the incumbents. So there hasn't been any reason for our elected officials to be accountable to their constituency. They've been able to do whatever they wanted and then run unopposed election after election.
Now, most of the time when people go to run for office, they have something that's close to their heart. When you watch do you know what committee or what you'll be interested in pursuing as a candidate?
This is difficult because I have so many things that are close to my heart. I really, and I belong to many different demographic groups, which puts me into a lot of potential committees. I think labor issues are very important to me, and veterans issues are very important to me. But that doesn't discount, environmental issues. Just about any committee I could get on would be important to me. I would say, I guess, if I had to pick one, that Veterans Affairs would be important to me, and yeah.
And I'm glad to hear you talking the way you talk. The situation here is that this district, the 1st District, it's a district that has a lot of land space. We have, I think it's what, 17 counties?
Yes.
And a lot of space and land space and what have you in between. We hadn't had a challenge in a long time. Somebody that's really a good candidate, somebody that's serious in what you like out there, what you're doing now, because that's what needs to happen to make sure that you take the message to the people and this sort of thing. Here's this guy, which is Carter, who's the congressperson now, and the door just opened up and he just stepped in and went and started representing. Oh, he's still stumbling around trying to find his way, and that's a fact, because I look at his speeches, I look at a lot of things that he talked about, that he's still out there guessing on what's going on. Now here's a situation where all of these people on the Republican side who ran for president, and it was a whole lot of them, maybe 14, 16, I forgot now how many, I stopped keeping account of them, but they started dropping off later like flies. But they all was talking about Trump wasn't nothing, and all these other type of things that they said about Trump. And then all of a sudden, soon as he got elected, they all turn around and must be pull their tail between their legs or whatever, and like he is the best thing since, what they say, the thing about the cheese or whatever, but anyway. And they ought to, you know, that's what they're doing right now. And that's why we have to, throughout the United States, and we say this, I say this to a lot of people in other counties and other states all over, that we have to change things in Washington. If we don't do that, this man who is in office right now will continue doing the things that he's doing and will continue. Here's a situation with this Supreme Court and the court system, which is dangerous. Federal judges throughout the United States, that this man had a chance to pick more with that little minute he'd been in office than any other president in the United States. And who is he putting there? Nothing but people who will be turning back the clock of time. And it scares you with the Supreme Court appointees and all of these kind of things. So this is what people don't understand. They're thinking that the situation here, that it's not just Donald Trump. Donald Trump is just one individual. But the key thing of his cabinet and the people he appoints and the people who he represents and this sort of thing. We in bed now with Russia and all of this kind of stuff. It just is scary. And that's why you voters, we have to make sure that everywhere we are, that we have to make sure that we vote and put people in office, like yourself and other people throughout the United States. And that's what we have to do. That's what we have to do, viewing audience. We got a job in front of us. And another thing, back to the first district, I think it's 4 counties that are larger counties, and then the other ones are small, but they all are important. And I'm glad to see that you're going out in all these other little counties and all these other little places, touching bases with the individual who live in those places where we can get their support, because it all adds up. It's just not Chatham County or Glenn County or one of those type of things, because they all count. And I'm glad to see you doing those things.
Thank you. That's very important to me, and that's a big drive behind why I'm doing this. The reason we've lost voters is because they feel that they've been neglected, they've been ignored, and they're not part of the system, and that they can't make decisions, and they feel unempowered. And the only way that we are going to get that energy back and have the power of the people is to get out and talk to them face to face. And when I do that, I'm encouraged, because I'm going into these rural counties and I'm talking to people and seeing that there isn't as big of a divide as it appears. It is not the way we see it in media, social media. There is more that we have in common and that brings us together than divides us. And we only see that if we're face to face with people. So it's very important to me to bring people back into the process, or maybe even for the first time, and show them that they have the power, and voting is their power, and being involved.
Assuming that you win, there's a good chance that the Democrats will try to impeach this president. Where do you stand on based on what you know now about this president? Would you be interested, or would we count on you to vote for an impeachment?
I think that there are grounds we still have to get the results of everything, but there are grounds for abuse of power, which is the grounds for impeachment. So yes, I would. I think that we have to, though, be very careful and be sure that we have substantial, usable evidence compiled so that we have a very strong case and it's not something that is used against us in elections. As long as we have a strong case, of course.
I was looking at a lot of information, and I know you was in these areas, a group of people who you speak to, you talking about all these things, some good stuff on here. You didn't leave anything out, and it seemed like, and it said Lisa's platform, and a list of stuff down here. So when you go into those areas or do a speech or one of those type of things, these are the things you talk about, that this is you and what you plan to do when you get there, so far as helping them accumulate and get some of these things. And this is so much stuff here that is going by the wayside, and we're losing it every day. And this is what we need, and this is why we need individuals who are out there running for office should be their speech about all of this stuff right here, because it was the platform before, and it's being taken away from us. And if we don't do something to change this, we will continue to lose. And you want to tell us a little bit about your platform and
Sure. The number one issue is healthcare. We've been fighting for a universal healthcare system for over 100 years. We are behind the rest of the world. If we could implement a Medicare for All program, we could save $500 billion a year. We could cover every person with health care from birth until death, and it is time for that. It is what people want in this country. It is time for us to take care of people. No longer should people be dying because they can't afford health care. So that is my number one issue, and that is the number one concern of people in this district, and I believe in the nation. We are at a crisis with healthcare. A single-payer system eliminates much of the waste and makes it a more efficient system. It also takes healthcare out of the hands of for-profit health insurance companies and puts our healthcare into the hands of healthcare providers where it should be. You'll see with all of my issues, there's a common theme, and that theme is we are at a point where greed and profits determine our policy. And it can no longer be that way. Government is here to serve people, not to make a profit, not to be run as a business. So in every system, what we have to do is take away the profit motive and find the ways to invest money and to invest resources into our communities and into individuals. It is so that we can have a healthy economy, we can meet their needs, and that is how we all prosper and we grow. Until we do that, until we take out that profit motive, we're going to keep having limited resources that we fight over, and the austerity that occurs does not meet any of our needs. So it is why we are at the point that we're at. So when you talk about any issue, if you talk about criminal justice, that is a component of it, making not-for-profit prisons. You have to take out the profit motive of police forces and immigration and so on. Veterans issues, it's the same. As I said, we're a military family. We have 4 military bases here in the 1st District, yet we have people who serve whose families are receiving food benefits because they don't make much money. My son is deployed for the first time in Iraq. He's 19 years old and he makes about $5 an hour. That is unacceptable. We have veterans who have served and they come home and the only job they can get is at Home Depot or Olive Garden for minimum wage. We are not taking care of our veterans. We aren't taking care of their health care needs. That comes down to now they want to privatize the VA. We cannot allow that to happen. What we need to be doing is putting more resources and more money into the VA to meet the needs of veterans, not taking it away and putting it into the hands of people who want to make a profit off of it.
Yeah, when you were talking, you mentioned something that kind of kicked my gear. You mentioned that you've been involved with corrections
Yes.
and that you have an anti-recidivism. Could you speak a little bit more about that? Because I'm in the process of building a certain system like it here in Chatham County.
That's excellent. We need that in so many places. The program that I was the executive director of, this was in Pennsylvania, and it was state parolees. They would get out on parole and they would come see me. They were ordered to see me. I would help them get a job. I would help them get treatment. I would help them get life skills, teach them what they needed, do their resumes and so on. Make sure that they reported to me, talk to them about the issues that were going on in their lives, and just help them be successful at moving on in life and becoming what they wanted to become because they had potential. And we had a very low recidivism rate. We had a 20% recidivism rate, which was a very, very good. It involved very little investment from the state, which was why it was very disappointing when the governor ended the program. Because we were at a point where probation and parole wanted to expand the program. We were only taking state parolees, but they wanted us to take federal parolees and to expand who we were serving. When you take the time to recognize people and to say, I want to help you succeed. How can I do that? What is it that you need? And to help them along the way. That is when we succeed. That is what we need to do. And I met with Mr. Cummings down in Camden County, who runs the
Reentry?
Yes, the reentry program. Thank you. And they have virtually no resources. If there is no money there for these programs, how can you serve people? How can you help people?
But that's one of the things that we're working on right now, so we call a funding page for recidivism for people. Because there's a lot of collateral damage things that we can handle if we have some money to help us.
That's wonderful. Thank you for doing that. See, the problem is people make mistakes and they get caught up in a system and they can't ever get out of it. Once you're in it and you have to check that box when you're applying for a job, when you're trying to get housing and you can't get student loans, and how can you move ahead if you will always be punished for a mistake that you made or maybe you didn't make?
There's so much good stuff on here that, and you touch a little bit of all of it, but we just don't have the time to go through all of it. But is that what we're going to do is this going to be shown more than one time. We're going to make sure of that, and what we have done, we're changing some things with our program and the way we've been doing things. Because before we was tied into we opened up changing with what we are doing, where people all over can start seeing the Dunham Report and seeing what we are doing and seeing people we having on, and not just tied into a smaller group. But that's what we are doing, and we want to make sure, because when this thing is over with, several times, that we want to make sure that this program, especially with you and what you were talking about, be seen, where the people will listen and then can make their mind up and make sure that they vote. And we got to keep pushing people to vote. It's like I said, you hadn't missed a beat, nothing on here that you have on here. So much stuff that we can talk about. One key thing that we were talking about, that's a great deal. Of course, you touch base on it a little bit, which is that living wage. And these are some things that we've been talking about forever. And we can't stop. We got to continue pushing it. Racial justice, all of these kind of things. We got to continue doing what we're doing. But Wes, you want to ask one thing before we leave? Because what I want to do is go and tell the viewing audience about why they should be voting for her, for the Congress. And
Well, I think the one thing that I want to know is that we got a real fighter. I'm not for someone who's going to go along and get along. Okay, I know we see a lot of the civility questions around town, but I'm like this. You know what? If someone punches me one time, I'll probably look away. But if someone punches me 2 times, I'm going to punch back. And so I think with those of us who are Democrats down below here, we feel we've been punched too many times and our leadership has not punched back. So tell me how you would handle some of this stuff that's going on right now. That basically they look down upon, they look upon us, they're going to be beating on us all the time, and every time somebody speaks up, everybody says, oh no, we don't want to go down that road. So what are we looking for? Someone who's going to be a fighter for us.
Absolutely. It is more important than ever to stand up and fight back.
Yes.
And I've always been a fighter. I think that there is a way to be a fighter that brings people together at the same time.
Oh.
And I think that we can, if we just listen to one another and understand, even if somebody is hateful and saying something hateful, listening to them and standing up and saying, no, you are wrong. That is not the way things need to be, and this is why. And you can point out reason. There are some people that we are never going to be able to change their minds, and we're not trying to change their minds. But there are a greater number of people out there who just they just want to get by. They just want to, they just want to live, and they don't know what the truth is, and they're believing false messages. So I think that saying disparaging things to them pushes them to the other side. If we listen to what their concerns are and talk about those concerns while ignoring maybe some of the more offensive things, we can fight back. I think that focus is the most important thing, and the bigger picture is the most important thing. The thing is, do we want to win this fight, or do we want to win the entire war that's going on? So I think talking to individuals without having to win the conversation, but maybe reaching them on a certain level is what's most important, and that takes great strength.
Take these last 2 minutes and tell the viewing audience why they should be voting for you and why we need to get you in D.C., why we need you in the overall Congress group.
The reason that I am running for Congress is because I want to be a public servant. I want to make the most difference that I can make. I want to make changes. There is no other motive for me running. I don't care about the title. I don't care about the power. What I want to do is make a difference in people's lives. But I can't do that alone. What that is going to take is everybody getting involved. We are at a point that we can change history. We have the momentum. We have the drive, and we have the vision, and we have people who are stepping up on all different levels, running for office, fighting back, holding rallies, having lawsuits against injustice. We are fighting back, and we have to keep that momentum going. What that takes is you being involved. We need you to make sure that you are educating voters, that you are registering voters, that you are educating voters, your neighbors, your family members, that you are helping the candidates that you believe in, that you're out there knocking on doors, making phone calls. We have an energy, and we're counting on you to support candidates and be a part of this movement, because we can make very real changes. This is a crisis situation. We've lost the Supreme Court, the judicial branch of government. We've lost the executive branch of government. The legislative branch is our only hope to have humane policies, and policies that will benefit our country and the people in this country. So we have to clean out the House and the Senate, and we have to elect people who actually have a brain and a heart, and who are willing to stand up and fight for the good of the people. And that is my reason for running, so I hope that you will support me and vote on November 6th. But I need you to do more than that. I need you to get out and work and make this election happen.
Viewing audience, you heard it. You heard her on the Dunham Report, and we got to go out and make it happen. All the good things that she's talking about will go to waste if we don't get out there and vote her in. We got the candidate, we got who we need. All you got to do is to don't talk, but go to the poll and vote. And one of the key things is political education. And you got it, you heard it here, because if you paid attention, that's what it was. An education session. Everything that she tell you is facts. And you can check it out for yourself, because you're seeing what's happening now. And we got to stop it. We got to stop it now. So please go out and support her. You had been listening to the Dunham Report, where you, the community, come first, keeping the focus on the future. See you next week. Good night.